Hey guys, welcome back to the This Is Soul Skate Shop YouTube channel. I'm Ivo, and last week I was in Berlin for the Return event. This is an event for wizard style skating. There were about 150 skaters from all over Europe, so it was really cool to see everybody there. At the event I was able to do like a talk, and this was regarding one of the topics that I would have otherwise made a video about, so I thought let's just record it and put that footage on YouTube as if it's like a normal video. So you'll see me in a second doing a presentation in front of a big screen, in front of a big audience as well. And this video is about cuffs. What I did was I took all the skates that you see here on the wall and took the cuffs off and measured the distance between the cuff bolt here and the cuff bolt there. So I would just put like a rope over it and measure the length of that rope. With that information, I was able to do a lot of cool stuff. In this video, you'll see exactly what. Enjoy!
Our next speaker actually doesn't need any introduction. His name is Ivo Werchter. He runs the This Is Soul Skate Shop, and you probably have seen some of his videos explaining some tech stuff to us. And today he's here, and he's going to tell us everything about cuffs.
Thank you, Alex. Hey guys! My name's Ivo, and welcome back to the This Is Soul Skate Shop YouTube channel. Because, I'm making a video of this talk. This is Derde Air, and this is like the first movie. And I'm sometimes surprised how few people know that. This is like the first movie where you see people really doing tricks on inline skates. So this should be called for us. It is called, but sadly not everybody knows that it's called. This is 1993, and why is this movie here? Well, it has something to do with my talk today, because the movie is here because this movie is a couple years later after when the skates were good enough to make the movie. This movie could have not been made 10 years earlier. So you could say that our sport evolved as soon as the skates were ready for it. Okay, and what was the final missing part for those skates to be ready? That was the upper part, the cuff and the buckle. So I think the cuff was probably invented maybe in skiing before that, but definitely the Roach's ice skates has it in 1977. The first rollerblade skate in 1981, of course, had a cuff, but there was still no buckle. So the flex and the support, which is one of the most important topics in our sports, where nobody talks about flex, you can really draw a line of the evolution of our sport and the evolution of the hardware. In 1987, the first skate with a buckle came, and it took only a couple of years for this movie to be released. So you see what the guys are doing? All right. This is what I like to do. I like to tell a little bit of history. I like to strengthen the culture. I'm of course the owner of This Is Soul Skate Shop, and we only sell inline skates, no roller skates, no other sports. We really try to strengthen the culture, the sport, and the knowledge that there is about its history and about its hardware. I made an entire video just talking about flex. It's not just even one video, it's a 5-part series where I really break down flex to its fundamentals and build it back up. Here you see me holding Seba CJ and a faction skate, and the big difference between them is if you take the cuff out, that there's no top. And what does that actually do with your experience? I tried all the different skates that are in our store, and I sorted them by flex rating. And flex rating is something that we really don't have in our sport, but so I kind of like invented the flex rating. And I took it from skiing. And in skiing, flex is rated by like a number that's around the number 100, where 100 is about the average, and like 130 is like really stiff, it's for race skiing, and like 70 would be really flexible, and that would be more for like light people and like more recreational skiing. So you can have the same kind of like metric for inline skating, and it was a little bit of a puzzle what to set as 100, and I thought also like in the Derde Air video, which I just showed you, you saw that they were all skating the rollerblade skates or the Roche skates. These are, of course, the same skate, made in the same factory back then in the 80s. So that kind of like for us is a little bit the standard. So I took the Roche's Fifth Element and the M12 as 100. And I just tried on all the skates, and if it was like a little bit stiffer, I would mark it as 110. If it was a little bit more flexible, I would mark it as a 90. And I really never thought about flex myself before this video. But now that I did try all those skates, I now suddenly have a really big preference in flex. And I think you all should have a preference as well. I think it will make your skating better if you have a preference in how flexible your skate is. There's also ways to adjust the flex of your skate, but we're going to get into that later. You'll see also next to the rating, you'll see increment. And there's linear and progressive. And linear increment means that it's the resistance that there is keeps on being the same resistance from beginning to end, no matter if you're like flexed all straight or if your knees are entirely bent. And if it's progressive, the flex is a little bit soft in the beginning, but it keeps on getting harder and harder to move forward later. And the progressive skates that have progressive flex are the better designed skates. Those are the type of skates that you want. They're also more expensive. Often. There's also the angle of the flex. For example, the Wizard base skate is really straight, and the old Salomon skates had a really steep angle. That's one thing that is not really listed in this, and it's definitely also an interesting topic. What I did do is the stretch. That's the last one, so that has a little bit related with that topic. It can either be like really long, so that you can kind of keep on falling forward, or it can be like really short, and then there's like hardly any movement. So that's also a big difference in how a skate feels. You can also sort this chart by price and by brand, and if you want to know more about this, then please check out my video, of course, about this topic. But at least this is a little bit of a fundamentation. If we're going to talk about cuffs, we need to learn something about flex as well. Here's the chart of like resistance. If you have a straight cuff and a flex cuff, that's the X parameter here, and the pressure and the low or high is on the I parameter. So you see that like a linear or a progressive flex. And you see that, like, for example, the M12 has like a progressive flex. Even if you like pressure a little bit more, you can flex a little bit more as well. But then usually Aeon just doesn't have any resistance at all, and until it kind of like stops totally at the end. The same is for the Powerslide Next. There's a couple of things that you can do to improve the flex of your skate. Of course, tightening your laces is a really good one. We have this special lacing technique that I like to talk to people. I like to say it. I do have flyers, but I don't know if they're here. I wanted to give you all some. But we made flyers of this and hand them out with every order in our web shop to inform people how to lace your laces. So take note on this. If you haven't discovered this lacing technique yet, it will change your life. You don't need an ankle buckle even if you lace it like this. There's a couple of things that you can do to change your flex of your skate. One is in the buckle receptor. This is a forward-facing buckle receptor, and you can see what I'm doing here. You can push it down a lot, so that adds to the flex. If you have a buckle receptor like that and you change it to a backward-facing buckle receptor, you limit the flex. But if you have a backwards-facing one and you put a forward-facing one in, you improve the flex. Like, it all depends on what you want. Of course, putting in an intuition liner makes it a lot stiffer. The liner determines the flex for a big part. You can rocker the cuff a lot of the times, not on all skates. And there's another trick that you can do. Here's a lot of space between the cuff and the shell. If you can fill that up with a little piece of foam, for example, you limit the movement of the cuff. And this is one trick that I did. So there's two bolts here. They're the sole plate bolts. And so I just drilled the cuff solid to limit the flex. And all these things that you can do to limit the flex will make it better for what all you guys are doing, is wizard style or flow style skating. Because you need a really, really stiff skate to handle those long wheelbase and those big wheels. You cannot flow skate on a Powerslide Next. Well, you can, but you would be better if you would improve it. All right, there's a couple of things you can do to improve it. But let's talk about what is a cuff and what makes a cuff different from other cuffs. All right. So this is, for example, a really high cuff. It's the rollerblade twister cuff, and it's a lot higher than the original faction cuff. This is a faction skate, and you can actually put it on it. Another example is this is a Seba. It's an FR skate, and it's hard to see it in this photo, but this is a taller cuff than is originally meant for this skate. So Seba has one cuff size, so meaning that like the small and the medium cuff both fit on each other, but the only difference is the height. So there's a couple of things that you can do with stock cuffs or like different cuffs from different brands to change it on put it on different models. Changing cutting off the buckle and cutting off the flaps makes it that you can tighten a skate better. The tighter a skate is, not only in the lacing but also on the top part, will also improve your performance. And a lot of the times people just push in the buckle as far as they can, but it's actually limited by the length of the buckle. So cutting off the buckle and the flaps is a good way to improve it. And then there's the material of the cuff. That's also a big factor of what a cuff is and what it does. So these are kind of like the metrics that you can play with, all right? So the height of the cuff, the flaps, and the material. Here you see the Wizard base skate, and a lot of people think it's too stiff. And you can, for example, quite nicely put an FR cuff on it, or the other way around. If you want to make your FR skate stiffer, you can put the carbon cuff on that. Then one other metric is V-cut. I'm just talking now about all the metrics that there are within cuffs. The last one is V-cut. I personally think that V-cuts are a little bit of a workaround, but because, for example, the M12 doesn't have a V-cut, it actually has a pretty high cuff. And I've skated the highest cuff even of the M12, which is super high. And it's not a bad cuff. Maybe the Throne has a V-cut. You can think of some other examples. They are actually really bad in the backwards flex. And the V-cut is usually a little bit of a workaround of having a bad backwards flex. If it's done properly, you don't need the V-cut. People who actually do need the V-cut are women, because their calf is lower than men. So this is Loka, it's a sub-brand of racers, and it's focused primarily on women, and they have a V-cut because it's for women. So if you're a woman, maybe you want a V-cut, otherwise maybe you want it as well, but it just means that the skate's not designed properly. The most important things about the cuff is actually the angle of the cuff bolts. I'm trying to point at it right here, and I have my skate here as well, which is one of the best examples, because it's a power side next. And the power side next, if I would do it for the power side next normally, the angle of the cuff bolts is like this and like that. So my fingers would be totally opposite of each other instead of being in an angle. All right? If you want to have a skate that has a lot of forward flex, then just put the cuff bolts straight on top of each other, straight opposite of each other. Then the cuff has free movement forward, nothing holding it back, okay? If you put the cuff bolts a little bit in the angle, so you put it more to the back, so the distance between the cuff bolts is actually less. If you would have a rope on the back from one cuff bolt to another, it would be less. If you have that, it's a lot harder to put it forward, so you have a lot more resistance. So the flex rating of a normal, like use the Aeon or a power side next, is like 70, which we just saw in the chart that I showed you before. And the flex rating of, for example, a Seba CJ skate is like 120 or 130 even, because of this little thing, because the cuff bolts are closer together in the back. So these are all the little things that make up a cuff. These are the design choices that were consciously or unconsciously made by the designer. But now at least you know about all of them. All right, let's sum it up a little bit. You have the distance of the cuffs, like of the cuff bolts. You have the height of the cuff. You have the V-cut or not. You have the flaps. How long are the flaps? And what type of buckle receptor is on it. Now let's talk about cuff compatibility. So what cuffs fit on what skate, and how can you maybe use those design choices in your advantage or not in your advantage in your skating. And I think everybody here wants a more stiff skate, right? Unless you have the Wizard base, then maybe you want to make it a little bit more flexible. So what I did is I tried all the cuffs on all the different skates. And rollerblade and Roaches have a shared history because rollerblade was made in the Roaches factory. So from that start in the 80s, they still to this day have the same cuff sizing. So that's really interesting. In some years, in some models, they took out a few cuff sizes, but then like the standard is still there. So let's say they have 5 cuff sizes, maybe in some year they only had 3, but they only took out then the 2 in the middle to make 3 out of 5. But yeah, often if you have like a Roaches cuff, it will also fit on a rollerblade skate in some size at least, and the other way around. And also within, at least this is the same, this is the situation for like the classic Roaches model, like M12 and the Fifth Element and those ones. And almost all rollerblade skates also have this, like, but they're only like what we consider as the classics. So maybe like a Twister or the New Jack or the old TRS Lightnings or those models, like the Rollerblade Blank, of course, the Solo skates, they all have the same cuff sizing, but the Cruiser does not. You know what I mean? It's a little bit less classic. Then FR, Seba, and Micro, they have a little bit of a shared origin story. If you want to learn more about that, I did like a history interview with Sebastian Lafargue about this. Razors and Rams, obviously, since 2003 have a co-ownership. And then some of the power slide skates also have the same cuff sizing. So this is really standard, what I'm saying. This is kind of like well-established knowledge already. Most people maybe already know a little bit of this information. This is not really new, but this is. So, of course, I own a skate shop, so I have access to all the skates that are on the market. And we took off the wall all the skates in all the cuff sizes. So, for example, for the Power Slide Next, that's 3 sizes. And for Razors, that's only 2 sizes. And for like the Aeon, that's also only 2 sizes. And we unscrewed all the cuffs and measured the distance between the cuff bolts. So, for example, I'm going to show it with my shadow. We put a sticker on it, so this says 185, and that's then the distance between the both of the bolts. So if you would then also find another skate that also has maybe like something around 185, you could assumedly say that maybe that cuff might fit on it. So we tried it. Often it actually does not, because for example here the throne that's here, it has this little ribble, and that really makes it a lot more complicated. But the skates that are really slick and clean at the back, like this one here, that one would fit, of course, more cuffs than one that has a little bit of a ribble. Then put all that information in this chart. So here you can see like all the skates on this end, and in the horizontal line you see all the cuffs, and then it says which ones are compatible. So this chart is available online when this video gets dropped on YouTube. It'll be in the description, of course, so you can check it there. But also we'll integrate all this information in our web shop. So if you go to one of the cuffs pages, it will show you like, hey, this cuff in this size will also fit on that skate. And we have a skate part finder tool on our website. That means that you can just select the skate that you have, and then it will show up all the compatible parts for that skate. Well, of course, it's easy to list like frames and liners and stuff, but on our website it will also show then what cuffs would be compatible on your skate. So that's a really easy way to find whatever works. So these are some of the photos. I'll just flick through it real quickly. Some of them, I must say, are not pretty at all. But you have to maybe use your imagination and think like, okay, what do I want out of a cuff? Like, do I want to have a skate that's stiffer in flex? Do I want to have more progressive flex? Probably. Do I want to have a higher cuff? I would say yes to that for most of you guys. Or maybe some people want to have a lower cuff. This one is nice and high. All these photos will also be available online later. This is, of course, one of the most interesting ones for most people, because a lot of people here have the Wizard base skate. And this is Crossfire, Rollbit Crossfire cuff. Here, this this is a really low cuff. So if you have the Rollbit Twister and you think the cuff is too high, you can fix it. So that's that. That's all the compatible cuffs. But then there's one more thing that you can do. This is the last part. That's what I did with this skate here, because I have a problem with my ankle. So I really have like an ankle injury. I broke it once. So I really, really, really need a stiff skate. I know you all here need a stiff skate because of the Wizard or flow style skating that you do, but I need it for my ankle. Otherwise, it just hurts. Okay. So how to make a stiff skate? There's a couple of things you can do, but the biggest thing that you can do is the angle of the cuff bolts. Remember? That's one of the biggest things. So if you want to really change your skate, you should re-drill the holes of your cuff to be more backwards, and look at my list of cuffs that have like a short range, okay? Because it's all sorted by range in this Excel sheet. And then you can just mark the spot with the marker, drill it first with a small drill, then drill it with a bigger drill in the right size of the T-nut, and boom, you have a nice Franken boot. Right. I hope this inspired you guys to think about cuffs and about flex a little bit more. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
I hope you guys enjoyed the talk. I hope you learned something. I hope I inspired you to change maybe the cuff or the flex on your skate, or to be more specific about what it is that you want from a skate and how the flex can help you with that. If you have any questions about this topic, of course, just send us a message. We're reachable on WhatsApp. There's like a chat box on our website, thisissoul.com. You can send us an email or contact us on Instagram, Facebook, or of course in the comments of this video. If you like content like this, we make a new video every week. So if you like learning about inline skating, subscribe to the channel, because we make a new one every week. So I see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.